Hello and welcome to workshop number 6 in this iPad music production course as part of the Make Do Create Festival from Wheelworks. My name is Graham and welcome back to this series of videos. In this last one then we're going to have a look at how we take our final piece of music and do some last minute tweaks, export it out of GarageBand, add some kind of mastering effects to it, and then have a look at getting it up there online to share with the world. So let's get stuck in. So we've got our track here. This is from last week. This is our arranged out track. If you've done a full arrangement on your song, it's probably going to be a lot longer than this. This is just the wee arrangement that we did in last week's session. What we're going to do then is we'll do a final mix, but we want to do a final mix, not necessarily of the full track as it's playing, but maybe take a bit where everything's kind of playing, or the most amount of things are playing at any one time, which is maybe section E here. So we're going to mix section E first, and then we'll come back to these little sections here, just to make sure that we've got it's sounding as well as we can. In fact, I'm going to move it on and maybe do section F as well, because I just realized that with this one from last week's video, if you remember, we did a little bit of automation here so that volume doesn't get up full there on our little synth track until section F. But before we do a final mix, I just want to show you one section here, which is our mixer section, where we can add some effects to our tracks. And we're going to want to add the effects before you do your final mix, because your effects might change, or will definitely change how the different loops are going to sound, but might also affect the volume of those sounds. So you don't want to mix them and then add the effects and then have to mix them again. So what I'm going to do is just go up here, top right, I'm going to go to section F, and then click here, so it will just now play section F. Let's check that out. Yeah, sounds pretty good. So what I'm going to have a look at is this section here first, this bleepy sound that we got from the Figure app back in video number 2, I think. So we're just going to solo this up, and we're going to do that by clicking on the little headphone here. So we're just hearing this sound, not hearing anything else. So it's playing that loop around, but I think we can change the sound of that a little bit, and I'm going to do it by clicking on this section here. We've got your little mixer controls, and we've got a couple of sections in here called echo and reverb. So this will allow us to add some of these effects to this track. So if I press play, and I'll add some of these, and you can hear. So you can hear our reverb there. It kind of gives it that sense of being in a space. It doesn't sound so close up to the front of the mix. You can make it sound like it's in a hall or somewhere like that. And certainly for music like this, especially electronic music, reverb is quite a commonly used effect. It's used all the time, not just in electronic music, but in lots of different types of music on vocals. It's very rare that you would hear a vocal, a song track within a song that didn't have some kind of reverb on it. Just makes it feel like it sits back in the mix a wee bit, blends with everything else, makes it feel like it's a bit more alive because it's in a space, and kind of helps that out. So we're going to add some reverb. We're also going to add some echo. So this is just going to add a little bit of echo to it. So these little gaps in here aren't so dead. So whenever it plays, if I play it without the echo, it gets to the end of here, because we chopped it off and nothing really happens. You will hear a wee bit of the reverb now, but you've got this little bit of dead space. But if I add some echo to it, like so you can hear it just kind of fills that out a bit. It sort of doubles up these little rhythms a wee bit. You know, I think that sounds pretty great. Let's hear it with everything else. There we are. So you can add that to as many tracks as you want. You know, I could go into this one here, click on this, and then play it. Like that. But just be careful if you're adding lots of reverb, lots of echo. You can kind of make sounds that seem quite dense, which can kind of fill out the mix a wee bit and sort of get in the way of everything else. So just be careful. It can be cool. Too much of it, maybe not so much. But it's just trial and error. Always use your ears and see what you think. So this kind of leads me on to another thing that we want to think about. Whenever you're doing any kind of mixing, pretty much any music, but super important when you're doing electronic music, especially more sort of clubby stuff like this, is that you really want to clear the way for the kick drums. So if you have something here, like kick drums, and also the bass line, I solo this up so we can hear our beats and our bass line. So we've got quite a what's called a sub-bass bass line there, so it's quite a deep kind of subby bass sound. And we want to get everything else out of the way of that sound. So in the frequency range, you've got your bass frequencies right down at the bottom, and then up at the top you've got your high frequencies. So like this hi-hat would be a real top frequency. It's a really high-pitched sound, it's really thin, but then right at the bottom end of the frequency range, you've got these bass sounds, which are really deep and low. Like so, and then maybe something like this synth would be somewhere in between, sort of in the middle. Like that. So you've got that kind of broad range of frequencies, but the one that you really need to be concerned about the most is the bass. You can only really have one sound playing a lot of bass frequencies at any time because the sound is quite wide, it's quite thick. But you can have lots of little hi-hats and kind of clippy sounds and wee melody things and little beeps and stuff at the top end of the frequency range. You can have lots of them playing at the same time because the pitch is higher, the sound sounds a lot thinner, therefore you can have a lot of things going on at any one time. If you think about like a band or something like that, if you're watching a big live musical act or something like that on stage, then you might have lots of different brass instruments, 2 or 3 different backing singers, some lead vocalists, a couple of guitar players, things like that, but you'll only have one bass player and you'll only have one drummer that's kind of hitting that bass drum, that kick drum. Because if you had 2 or 3 bass players all playing at the same time, it would just become really muddled and you wouldn't be able to hear what they were doing. But you can have lots of high-end kind of trumpets playing different things, or strings, or vocalists, or doing lots of different things, lots of guitars playing at the same time. And because they're much higher pitched sounds, then you can have more of them playing at the same time. They won't kind of get in the way of each other, muddle up the sound, but bass as well. So if I had another bass line in this song, it would be a disaster. It would just sound really muddled. So we want to then think about any other sounds in here that might have bass in them and get that bass out. And this is the only other one. So if I play this sound again, you can hear that it has some kind of top end sounds, but it also has some lower bassy notes in there too. And we can get rid of it in this section here. So this plugins and EQ section. I can just click on bass and just turn that down. We've also got treble, so we can turn up the top end. So treble refers to the top end of the sound, bass refers to the bottom end of the sound. And we've just got some really basic controls here that we can click on to kind of turn those up and down. So with this one, I want to get rid of some of the bass. So I'm just going to gradually turn this down, but I'll turn them both up and down. You can hear what it does. Like that. So you could hear there whenever I was playing that, if I turned this down, it sort of started to sound a lot thinner. And on its own, it can sound a little bit weird, but then the reason why I took this off and played it with everything else is that that's where it is most important to hear what it sounds like when everything else is playing. What does it sound like in context? So if I have the bass and then have this one playing, and they're both playing at the same time. That sounds grand. I mean, if I wanted to get rid of this, I could potentially use this as the bass line of the track and just turn the bass right up. And we could mute this. And that would just be another option. So even by changing your little equalization effects around here, turning your bass up and down, you can either take the bass out completely and just have this as like a mid to top end sound and have a bass line underneath it, or you can use your bass and boost that up and actually use the bass frequencies in this as the bass line of your song. It's all just about using your own creativity and choosing what you think is going to work best for you. So these effects do apply to all the individual tracks. If we move through them, we get effects for all those tracks. To close that down, we can click on this. So what we can do now then is just have a little mix of this track. So I'm going to take these all down to 0. What won't go down to 0 is this one, because we have automated this track. So that's where we're going to start with, is that one. Take these all down to 0 and then just play it, and then gradually we're going to bring them up one by one so they're sitting in a nice balance with this sound here. There we go. So the last thing I did there then was turn a little bit of bass out of these wee beepy tracks and just get a little treble boost there as well, just to kind of poke that through the mix a wee bit. Last thing we then want to do here with this mix is I'm going to go to section G and then out here, and then let's see how loud this needs to be. So this is the only bit that we didn't mix, was this little bit here. Cool, so I think that'll do, but what we'll do is just go back and check. If we go to all sections, back out here, let's just have a listen to how those crashes and stuff flow into one another. Just check that. There you go. So I thought that this one was still a bit loud whenever it came in, so I just opened up the automation from last week and just pulled that kind of master volume down a wee bit on those. But it's just going to be trial and error as you kind of listen through it and see how you get on. All right, here we go. Now we're done. So what we then want to do is we're going to save this and we want to export it. And this can be a wee bit tricky. There's a little glitch just with exporting here to get the final file in the way that you want it. I'm just going to talk you through it. So I'm just going to hold this down and go to Share and select Song. So here we can choose what file format we want it in. You don't really necessarily need them to be in any of these lower audio quality file formats. You might as well go for the full WAV. Used to be back in the day that WAV was a file format that worked on PC computers, and AIFF was a file format that worked on Apple computers, but not anymore. It's all cross-compatible now, so it doesn't really matter which one of these you pick. And then click Share. So there's a little glitch with iPads at the moment with iOS 13 that you would think that if you wanted to save it into files here, where you would just click Save to Files and then choose where you're going to put it. But actually, if you do that, it'll create an unplayable audio file. It's weird. I don't know why it's happening, but it does. So we want to get around that just by clicking on Open In, and then it will export the song. So it's going through the process here of exporting the song. And then once it does that, it'll pop up another wee window, and then we can save it to files. There we go. So now we can click Save to Files, and I'll choose where we want it to go to. Currently selected on my iPad. I can click where it says the name if I wanted to change that. So I can change that to, or actually give your song a name. And then save it to there, and then choose where it's going to go. I'm going to put mine into my music samples folder. Might as well, that we created right at the very start. Music samples, and then click the Save button. And it's going to save that into music samples. So if we now go into the music samples folder, in there is our final track that I created today, this one. All right, so that's your track completely done. Last thing I'm going to show you then here is if I go out into my music folder, if you want to put this up into the world, you can do a lot worse than getting yourself a SoundCloud account. This is a free app. There's a free version of the account where you don't pay a single penny, but it allows you to put your songs up online and then share them with the world. So you create a SoundCloud account, download the app, it'll ask you to create an account. You just need an email address and you create yourself an account. And then this little button up here will allow you to click OK, choose, let's go no thanks for that. Choose the track, which is this one, and then that will automatically upload. So then you can choose, you can see it's uploading here. You can choose an image for it, change the name, click in the genre of the track, you can put in a description, wherever you want to do, and then that will have your track will then be up online and you can then share it. So this will just finish uploading and then I can click save. There we go. And then that will be my track will be up online in my account, and then I can go and share that online, stick it up on Facebook, Instagram, wherever, and get that out there and let all your mates hear the music that you're creating. Okay, that is it for this video, and it's also it for this course. I really hope you have enjoyed it and you have learned some stuff, and hopefully it inspires you to get out there, find some apps, get downloading them, get making some sounds, sticking them together using your GarageBand app and getting them up there online. We would love to hear them. If you finish some tracks, you want to send them to us, the email address is up on the screen right now. It is tanya@wheelworksarts.com. Other thing we would love you to do is to subscribe to the Wheelworks YouTube channel. So you can catch up on all the other amazing content that's being put up as part of Make Do Create by brilliant artists based here in Northern Ireland. They are amazing. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you soon. Cheers, bye.